It was a Friday night in March. The bars were spilling over with college kids, and the Uber surge pricing had tripled. I drive part-time in Chicago, nothing fancy, just to pick up extra cash after my tech job went fully remote. That night, I logged in around 11:45 p.m. and accepted a pickup near the South Loop. The rider's name was Dean M. When I pulled up outside the address, it was a dimly lit stretch near an abandoned storefront. I double-checked the app to make sure I wasn't off. That was the pin exactly there. But there was no one in sight. Then, I heard a knock. It's not on the window from inside my trunk. It was faint, but unmistakable. 3 slow knocks. I froze. I stared at the rearview mirror. No one was behind me. Just empty asphalt and a flickering street lamp. I unlocked the car and stepped out slowly. My heart was pounding like it was trying to punch through my ribs. I crept toward the back of the car. The knock came again. Then, a voice muffled, weak, and terrified. Greater than please. Help, I fumbled. For the trunk release. It popped open. Lying there barely breathing, duct tape over her mouth, wrists bound, was a girl, maybe 20, blonde, bloody scrape on her forehead. Her eyes darted up to me in sheer panic. I ripped the tape off her mouth. Who did this? What the hell? Greater than he's coming back. RUN. Before I could ask anything else, tires screeched behind me. A black Dodge Charger spun into the intersection and stopped with a lurch. A man in a hoodie jumped out, something glinting in his hand. I slammed the trunk shut again. She screamed inside and dove into the front seat. I floored it. He chased me on foot for half a block before giving up. The girl was screaming in the trunk the whole time. Not words, just panicked, animal shrieks. I sped for the nearest police station, running red lights, and praying the guy didn't follow. I never made it there. Asterisk. I pulled off the main road to get my bearings. The girl had gone quiet. I yelled to her through the trunk. We're going to the cops. You're safe now. Nothing. I stopped and popped the trunk again. She was gone. The trunk was empty. No blood. No tape. No scratches. Like she had never been there. I stood there in the cold air, shaking. My hands still smelled like the adhesive from the tape. I knew I hadn't imagined her. But what the hell? I checked my Uber app. Dean M. had canceled the ride 2 minutes after I accepted. There was no trip history. No fare. No evidence. I opened my dash cam app. I had it auto-recording for safety. I tapped into the feed from the last 30 minutes. The file was corrupt, unplayable. Now I was panicking. Was this a trap? Some weird hallucination? I called the cops anyway, reported it. They told me to come in and file something formal. I drove straight to the nearest station in a dazed dot. Inside, the officer at the front desk listened patiently while I told my story. He didn't even look surprised. Greater than you, sure she wasn't part of some app prank or something. Straight. I had a girl in my trunk, screaming, and now she's not. Yeah, look, we'll file a report. What's your plate number? We'll keep a lookout. The officer gave me a look that chilled my bones. Greater than you're not the first Uber driver to report this. Asterisk. I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, bloody, terrified. The next few nights, I didn't drive, turned the app off, and just tried to live normally, until 3 nights later. I got a ping from Uber. I hadn't even opened the app. The screen lit up with a pickup request. Dean M2, 2 minutes away. I canceled it immediately. 2 seconds later, another ping. Same name. This time, it accepted itself. The map guided me back to that same desolate stretch near the South Loop. I tried to force close the app. My phone wouldn't respond. The screen flickered, then went black. All I could hear was the sound of tires crunching behind me. I looked in the mirror. The black Dodge Charger, parked, empty, no driver. I turned my car around and floored it. As I passed the Charger, the headlights flicked on by themselves. I made it home somehow. When I finally got inside, I threw my phone across the room. It lit up one last time before dying. A notification from Uber. Greater than your rider. Dean M. has left. A 5-star rating and a note. Thanks for the ride. It's not done with you yet. I don't drive anymore. I uninstalled the app, sold the car, and moved out of Chicago. But every few weeks, I get a notification. A new request. Dean M. pickup in 2 minutes. Sometimes, I hear knocks on my front door. Other times, on my bedroom wall. And once, I heard it again. From the trunk of my own mind. Knock, knock, knock. I've been driving for Uber in Seattle for nearly 2 years. Night shifts are my go-to. Less traffic, more surge pricing. I've picked up drunk college kids, silent airport business types, even a guy with a pet ferret in his hoodie. But nothing ever came close to what happened on May 3rd, 2024. It was almost 1 a.m. when I accepted a pickup near Beacon Hill. The name was Aaron C. No rating. That's always a red flag. But I figured it was a new account. Maybe some guy trying to get home after drinks. Beacon Hill isn't sketchy, but the specific street it pinned was unfamiliar. Ashwood Drive. I don't remember ever driving down it before. When I got there, my headlights caught a figure standing under a broken street lamp. Tall, lean, wearing a long black coat despite the spring air. His face was turned away. He didn't have a phone in his hand or show the usual Uber signs of waiting. I rolled down my window a crack. Greater than you, Aaron. The man didn't reply. I just walked over and opened the back door, sliding in without a word. Where to? I asked. Still nothing. The app suddenly flashed. Destination set. Rainsford Woods. I frowned. It was way outside city limits. A good 45-minute drive through back roads and stretches of highway where you'd be lucky to see a gas station. A T was already in, and I needed the fare. As I drove, I noticed something odd. A T didn't give me turn-by-turn directions. Instead, the map was distorted. No street names, just a red line cutting through the black, guiding me deeper and deeper south. I tried closing and reopening the app. It glitched, then went back to the same bizarre interface. I looked into the rearview mirror to ask if he wanted a different route. He wasn't there. The door had never opened. My breath caught in my throat. I slammed on the brakes and twisted around in my seat. Empty. Back seat, completely empty. I swear to God I saw him get in. The door slammed shut behind me, but the car never shook. The seatbelt hadn't clicked. I checked the trip details. Passenger on board. Timer still ticking. I was alone, but not. Asterisk, I kept driving. Not because I wanted to, but because I felt like I had to. Steering wheel felt tight in my hands, like it wasn't fully mine anymore. I tried to reroute manually, even turned off the phone completely. But the dashboard GPS, never used it before, flickered on by itself and picked up the same red line. Every road sign I passed was unfamiliar. Hazelton Road, Whistler's End, Black Birch Hollow, but none of these were on a map. I'd lived in this state my whole life. These towns didn't exist. Worse, The deeper I went, the less signal I had. Not just date and nothing. The phone screen turned black, completely dead. CarPlay glitched out. That's when the cold started. The heater was on, but my fingers numbed on the steering wheel. A low fog rolled across the road, the trees on either side now looming and bent, like they were leaning in to listen. And then I swear I heard breathing inside the car, long, slow breaths coming from directly behind me. But when I looked, again, no one. I slammed on the brakes. This time, the engine sputtered and cut out completely. Everything went dark. I sat in silence, gripping the wheel, heart hammering. And then, something moved in the corner of my eye, the rearview mirror, tilted downward by itself, like someone was adjusting it. I didn't move. Then, the rear dome light turned on. I caught a glimpse of the back seat in the mirror. There he was, the man in the coat, only now, he was smiling, wide, unblinking, teeth far too long. I turned around in a panic. Empty. Again. My car restarted by itself. The GPS line pulsed red, and the voice assistant I'd never enabled whispered through the speakers, "Greater than you are on the correct route. Please do not exit the vehicle." To stand still. I wanted to abandon the car, just run into the woods, but my legs wouldn't move. I was frozen, and not just from fear. It was like something had rooted me there. I drove the final stretch to Rainsford Woods, like a puppet. No thoughts, just instinct. The trees parted into a circular clearing. In the middle sat an old, crumbling two-story house, its windows hollow and gaping. The destination marker blinked. "Greater than you have arrived." Before I could react, the rear door creaked open on its own. A sound like someone stepping out crunched into the gravel. But again, no one there. Only a presence, like air being sucked out of the world. I tried to drive away. Threw the car in reverse. The vehicle didn't move. Instead, the passenger seat slowly reclined by itself, like inviting someone invisible to lay down. Then the radio crackled an old, scratchy broadcast. "Greater than you've completed your shift, but the passenger hasn't left, and he never will." I jumped out. Finally, my legs worked. I sprinted into the woods, phone in hand, flashlight on. I didn't stop until I saw the first real road sign in hours. When I flagged down a passing car, they thought I was high or having a breakdown, but I knew what I saw. When I checked the Uber app later, the trip was gone. No trace. My account was flagged for suspicious behavior and eventually deleted. But I kept the car. Sometimes, when I drive at night, the dashboard GPS turns on by itself. That red line flickers into place. I don't follow it. Not anymore. Because he's still in there, somewhere, waiting for me to finish the trip. I've been driving Uber in Detroit for about a year. It's mostly night shifts, mostly quiet passengers. Sure, I've had a few weirdos, people crying in the back seat. Couple who fought so loudly I thought someone would throw a punch, but I'd never felt scared. Until last month. It started with a ride request that popped up at 2:14 a.m. right as I was about to log off. No profile pic. Name was just J. I usually avoid accounts with no ratings, but it was close. Less than a mile and surge pricing had kicked in. I figured, what the hell? One last ride. Pickup location was a dead-end street in Highland Park, a semi-abandoned neighborhood where a lot of houses are either boarded up or burnt out. I've driven through there before, and something about it always felt off, like the air itself was heavier. When I pulled up, there was a man standing at the curb. The key didn't wave, just stared. His black hoodie, pale face, deep-set eyes like he hadn't slept in years. He got in the back without a word. No greeting, no hello, no small talk. Greater than where we headed? I asked. He finally spoke, but his voice was flat, no inflection, no personality. Greater than I already put it in the app. I checked. The destination was Glenfield Cemetery, about 20 minutes away now. I don't judge. People visit graves late sometimes, especially if they're grieving. But the weird part? Cemetery closed at sunset. The gates would be locked. Still, I drove. Halfway through, I noticed something strange on the screen. The trip rating section where you normally leave stars after the ride is already visible, except instead of 5 stars grayed out, I saw just 1 star, burning red dot, and it was already clicked. Greater than, huh? I muttered. That's new. You'll earn the rest, the man said from the back. So quietly I barely heard him. I glanced at the mirror. He was smiling now. Just a little. Something about that smile made the hair on my neck stand up. Asterisk as we neared the cemetery. I saw a detour warning on my GPS. Construction. The map auto-routed through a narrow service road I'd never seen before. Street lights. Trees pressing in from both sides. The app said we were 5 minutes away. That's when things got really weird. The ride timer stopped moving, froze at 17:43. Even the mileage counter halted. Then my radio, which I never turned on, buzzed to life with a burst of static. Then a voice whispered through it. Greater than, he's behind you. I slammed the brakes, turned around in a panic. The back seat was empty, but the door never opened. No sound, no shift in weight. I opened the door, flashlight in hand. No one in sight. They're not in the woods, not on the road. Just my empty car. I got back in, shaken, heart racing. The second I touched the steering wheel, my phone lit up. The Uber app was still open, still tracking the ride. And now, the destination had changed. Home. That's all it said. No address, no route. Just the word, and the end trip button was gone. I tried closing the app. Nothing worked. That phone was frozen. And then, something moved behind my seat. I didn't hear it, like breath on my neck. I drove. I didn't know where. App didn't tell me, but the road just kept stretching, longer than it should. I felt like I was driving in circles, except the trees looked taller, older, as if I was going deeper into some place that didn't want me to leave. Asterisk, I don't know how long I drove. Could have been 20 minutes, could have been 2 hours. Eventually, I emerged into a clearing. There was an old farmhouse sitting in the center of a field. No lights, no signs of life, but the app suddenly unfroze, flashed a message. Greater than you have arrived at the drop-off point. And then, the screen cracked by itself, just split straight down the middle, like someone had jabbed it with a knife. I turned to look behind me. He was back, only now his face looked wrong, skin stretched too tightly over his skull, his black eyes, mouth too wide, like it was trying to swallow his entire face. He leaned forward and whispered, "Thanks for the ride." And then, he was gone again, just vanished, but something stayed behind. When I got out of the car to breathe, I heard a faint thud from the trunk. At first, I didn't want to open it. Pasha, my curiosity got the better of me. Inside, traded, was a phone. Not mine. It was playing a recording. One I hadn't made. I pressed play. My own voice. Where we headed. The man. I already put it in the app. Silence. Then my voice again. You'll earn the rest. I dropped the phone and ran. I abandoned my car and didn't return for 2 days. When I came back with a tow truck driver, The car was untouched, doors locked, battery dead. But there was one thing I couldn't explain. On the back seat where he sat, someone had carved into the leather with a jagged object, and below it, "You never made it home." It was a scorching Thursday night in Phoenix, one of those dry, suffocating nights where the heat doesn't leave after the sun sets. I was working late again, doing Uber full-time after getting laid off from my warehouse job. Spent online for 6 hours, dead tired, just trying to make enough for rent. Around 1:38 a.m., I got a ping for a ride. Pickup, 19th Ave, and Thunderbird R.D. Name, Justine D. Rating, 5.0 to 87 rides. Seemed normal. Good rating. Nice neighborhood. I pulled into the pickup spot 5 minutes later, outside a closed vape shop. The lot was empty except for a woman standing under a buzzing street light. She looked mid-30s, long hair, black hoodie just kind of off. She wasn't holding a phone, which was odd, and she was staring at the sidewalk like it had secrets. I lowered the passenger window. "Greater than you, Justine." She nodded without looking up. Got into the back seat. Didn't speak. I waited for the destination to load. Popped up almost instantly. Drop off. North Mountain Preserve Trailhead. Now that was strange. That area's pitch black at night. Just desert trails and rattlesnakes. No homes. No businesses. Greater than hay. "You sure about the drop-off?" I asked. "Kinda remote." She finally looked up and said, calm and slow, "He'll be meeting me there." My stomach tightened. But I drove. We rode in silence. 10 minutes in, I realized something. Weird. She didn't reflect in the rearview mirror. I blinked, adjusted it. Still nothing. I could hear her breathing behind me. Feel her in the car, but her reflection wasn't there. I was too afraid to ask questions. I just kept driving, pretending not to notice, until I heard a whisper. But it didn't come from the woman. It came from the third row. "I don't drive an SUV. I drive a 2014 Honda Civic. There is no third row. By the time we reached the trailhead, I was sweating buckets and barely holding it together. My phone glitched out the moment we entered the preserve's perimeter map, frozen. Time stuck at 2:04 a.m. The gravel lot was empty. Total darkness beyond the trail's wooden archway. The day, number, cars, no lights, no he waiting. Justine didn't move. She just sat there, staring at the rearview mirror, like she knew I was watching her. "He's not ready yet," she said softly. "Greater than who's he?" She didn't answer, just slowly turned her head toward the backseat corner behind her, and smiled. A second later, my headlights flickered. Then something moved in the bushes to our right. Not a rabbit, not a bird. It was tall. I only saw the shape for half a second, but it looked like a man, bald, lanky, and wrong. His limbs too long, his neck too low, like he'd been stretched. Then Justine said something that still makes my skin crawl. "Greater than you'll need to give him a ride." Excuse me, he doesn't have the app, but he still rides." I turned around. She was gone. Door still shut. No sound, no opening. Just vanished. Then I heard the breathing again, from the third row, and this time I felt a hand on the back of my neck. I screamed, slammed the car into drive, and took off down the road. Tires screeching on gravel. My phone lit up one last time as I fled. New passenger request. Unknown pickup. Your back seat. I made it home around 3:30 a.m. Still shaking. Parked on the street, Locked every door, unplugged the phone, even covered my mirrors. I tried convincing myself it was heat exhaustion, a prank, something rational. But when I checked my Uber app, history was gone. The ride with Justine didn't exist. No record, no fare, no log dot. But a new profile had been added to my blocked riders list. Something. Ding. It just said, unknown rating, unrated. Trips. 1. Last ride. You. I deleted the app. The next day, I took the Civic to a local car wash and vacuumed every inch. While cleaning under the back seat, I found something I know wasn't there before. A driver's license, old, cracked, faded like it had been sitting for decades. The photo was water damaged, but the name was legible. Justine. Darnell, Dobb, 1985. Deceased, 2006. I haven't driven for Uber since. Hell, I barely drive at night anymore. But once a week, I still get a notification. Greater than you have a new trip request. Pickup, 3rd row. Estimated wait time, eternal. I don't open the app, because some rides never really end. Asterisk. I've been driving Uber nights for the past 3 years in Houston. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills. Most rides blur together, drunk college kids, couples heading to hotels, quiet commuters. But what happened on July 9th, 2024, at 11:46 p.m. changed how I look at people forever. I was parked near a Chevron gas station off Westheimer, thinking about calling it a night. I'd already made enough for the day. Then, I got one last ping. Greater than passenger. Daniel M. rating. 4.9312 rides. Pickup. 11,817 Dunstan Street drop-off. Not listed, just said to be added. That was the first red flag, but I figured maybe he was having trouble with the app. It happens. Besides, a 4.9 is gold in this line of work. The pickup was outside a row of run-down duplexes. Everything looked still. No porch lights, no cars. Just Daniel standing on the curb in a blue cap, shoulders slouched like he'd been waiting forever. He got in without saying a word, smelled faintly of vinegar and something ... metallic. Hey, Daniel, where we headed? He didn't respond, just tapped my shoulder with a single finger and showed me a handwritten note. It said, "Don't ask questions. Drive west." I laughed at first, thought it was a joke, but the way he stared at me through the rearview mirror, jaw locked, eyes unblinking. I started the car. We drove in silence for 20 minutes. No directions. Just straight west. Eventually, I asked, half joking, "Greater than so. Is this like a scavenger hunt or something?" Kay said, very softly, "Greater than I'm looking for her." "Who? The one who screamed last?" I thought I misheard him, but then I noticed something terrifying. He wasn't wearing the cap anymore. I never saw him take it off, and it was now on the passenger seat beside me. Asterisk. We hit the outskirts of town. No streetlights now, just the open country, dark and flat. My fuel gauge was down to a quarter tank. I was about to pull over and demand answers when my headlights flashed across an old, crumbling building, an abandoned rest stop. No lights, no cars, just broken pavement and a busted vending machine swarmed by insects. It's the kind of place you feel watched before you even stop. Daniel finally spoke. "This is where she got in." "What do you mean?" He didn't answer. He just stared at the building like it held the whole damn world inside it. I put the car in park. The engine ticked in the silence. I was about to tell him I was done when he suddenly said, "Greater than, you'll wait here. You won't move." Then he stepped out, left the door wide open. He walked into the rest stop, slowly, without turning back once. The second he disappeared into the shadows, my phone lit up, even though I had no signal. Even though I'd closed the app, a ride request came through, but the name wasn't. Daniel, it said, greater than passenger, unknown femme lipickup, this low CAT01 destination. Unknowing the screen locked itself. Then, my back passenger door opened on its own. I swear to God I didn't see anyone, but I felt the seat sink on. Something got in. The car filled with cold air. I started shaking uncontrollably. My chest locked up, and I couldn't breathe. In the mirror, the back seat was empty, but the seatbelt light blinked for the rear right seat tapped fastened. Then the radio turned on. By itself, static followed by a woman's whisper, greater than he doesn't bring them back, ever. I slammed the car into reverse, trying to get out of there. But the tires spun like I was stuck in mud, even though we were on dry gravel. I looked out the windshield. Daniel was standing directly in front of the car. His eyes were pitch black. His mouth hung open like it had been dislocated. Atina. And in his right hand, he held the blue cap, dripping wet with something dark. He started walking toward the car. Not fast, but deliberate. I turned around, screaming, trying to open the back door, but it was locked from the inside. From the mirror, I saw it again briefly. A girl, pale, soaked, bruised, sitting silently, blinking in the back seat, eyes wide, moving, but no sound. I hit the gas one more time. This time, the car launched backward, slamming into something. I didn't stop to look. I turned around, floored it, and didn't stop until I hit the freeway again. When I got home, I didn't sleep. I deleted Uber, changed my number, parked the Civic and started biking to my new job. But last week, someone left something on my doorstep. A blue cap, still wet, and tucked inside it, folded neatly, was that same note. Daniel showed me the night it all began. Greater than don't ask questions. Drive west.